Wow. I am a very, very lucky Welshman today because I am standing on the hallowed turf of the Cardiff Arms Park and I'm about to meet a Welsh sporting legend that you might know by Gareth Thomas, but we all know him here as Alfie. He's not only an ambassador for people living with HIV, he's an incredible ambassador for LGBTQA communities, and he's one of my dear friends. Please let me introduce you to the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Gareth Thomas.
Gareth Thomas can go! Gareth Thomas, dramatic drive for Wales!
He was a huge figure in the sport. Captain of Wales, captain of the British Lions.
Gareth Thomas!
In the machismo world of rugby, Alfie played the part brilliantly.
That is the one which breaks Ian Evans' try-scoring record for Wales.
Then he came out, the first international rugby player ever to have done so.
There's a stereotype to every profession you're in, and I suppose the stereotype to sport and rugby in general is the macho man. I just think unless the stereotype is broken, then society doesn't really change or accept anything else.
I'm Gareth Thomas, and I want to share my secret with you. I'm living with HIV. I choose to fight, to educate and break the stigma around this subject.
Shumai. Hello.
Hello, Pat.
How are you doing? You
I'm
okay?
very well, yeah. You okay?
Lovely to see you,
You
as
too.
always.
As always.
As
to you,
always.
Pat.
What a wonderful day for it.
Do you know what? It's not often I miss playing rugby, but when I watch a team run and realise they can just stand in the sun not doing much, then I feel like actually I do miss it.
Do you miss it then?
Do you know? I don't. I don't.
Really?
Yeah, I don't miss playing. And I remember thinking to myself one day, like, why I don't miss playing?
Okay.
Because it's all I've ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like from the earliest age I can remember ever wanting to be anything, it was to be a rugby player. And it's a real like short career, and it's over when most other careers are kind of people are starting to progress.
Yeah.
And I don't miss it because I think if I missed it, then I'd have a regret of when I played, like of a
Okay.
performance. And I think if I didn't miss it, that means to me, do you know what? I've probably overachieved from what I wanted to do as a
You put
kid.
everything out there. You left
Yeah,
it all out
for
there.
literally as a kid. Like I wanted to, first of all, was to represent Bridgend, which was the town I played for. Then represent Wales, if I was ever good enough. And I managed to do them two things and more for a long time as well.
British and Irish Lions
Yeah.
as well for a long time.
For a long-
Captain your country.
Exactly, mate. So I set the bar at what I thought was an unreachable goal, an unreachable level. And I actually got to that bar, stayed there for a long time, and went higher. So
Yeah.
when I look at it, I think, do you know what? I'm just with Matt Johnson. I'll call him back. Yeah, he's doing my head in. I won't be long.
I'll be home in 5 minutes. Thank you very much. Is that what you do, like on a date or something? When somebody calls, going, "Yeah, oh my God, I've left the stove on."
No,
It's an accident.
The
You
thing
gotta
with me
go.
with a date is on my profiles I've got your picture. So when I turn up and they see this, I don't need to say anything. They're
The
gone.
ultimate catfish.
They're gone. They're gone. Like they're gone. They're gone.
I'm really interested in this. So, with regards to your career, you set your bar at Bridgend, and
Yeah.
everything was a bonus, effectively.
Yeah, do you know, genuinely everything was because why it was so important to me to play for Bridgend was I'd always wanted to feel like I could represent something,
Okay.
you know, and I felt
That meant a lot to you.
Bridgend was my world.
Yeah.
Like I still live there. I was born there, and I have no doubt, and I'm actually proud to say that, you know, people think sometimes, oh, the world's such a big place, you need to travel around, right? But I really wanted to represent Bridgend. I wanted to stay in Bridgend. So the thought that I could be a part of something that I supported as a kid, you know, and what I understood from standing on the terraces as a kid is that, you know, people used to go to jobs that they pretty much hated to be able to get the money to be able to stand on the terraces, to feel like for 80 minutes of their life they're part of something that's bigger than who they are, that like transcends them from maybe their
very tribal,
their
isn't it?
existence. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's
A sense of community.
it's it's tribal, it's community, and it's representation.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I always kind of remembered about playing for Bridgend was knowing that you have the ability of putting smiles on people's faces whose lives were tough.
Yeah.
Sometimes they didn't have anything to smile about.
Yeah.
But when you used to see Bridgend do well, when I used to score a try or be part of a successful team, mate, I would look in the stands and I wouldn't just see people cheering for me. I'd see people being happy.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, do you know what? I've played a part in putting that smile on your face. And when you go home tonight, life's a little bit better.
Yeah.
And to have that like representation, to have that community feel and be able to be integral in making people feel like that is all I ever wanted to do. Like,
because you're not just playing for yourself, not just playing for your team, you're playing for your entire community.
Yeah.
And what you belong to, and you know how important it is as somebody that's been in those stands, how important that feeling of being united and connected to your fellow man, to your fellow human beings.
And you know what about when every jersey I've been lucky enough to play for a few great teams, Cardiff being one of them. Every team I ever played for, I never put on a jersey without understanding what that jersey meant. So the badge is not strategically placed, as far as I was concerned, not strategically placed on the left-hand side because that's just where the badge sits. It sits there because it sits next to the thing that makes you play with pride, and that's your heart. It sits on your heart. And it's to understand that that badge, you know, again, is a representation and it's a reflection of the community that you're representing.
Yeah.
So many people think rugby, that team sports, is all about individually doing well, but it's not. It's about making a collective successful.
Oh,
and that collective, that collective isn't just on there. That collective is in the houses, in the hotels, like it's in the pubs, in the clubs, it's everywhere.
And especially as in Wales, rugby is our main sport. It's our working class. It unites us often, and it's incredibly important. Effectively, we're a poor nation, but communities and pride is so important. And it's good to hear that a professional sportsman is saying that.
Yeah.
Because that can get lost in translation sometimes. But it meant a lot to you. Pride is very important to you, isn't it, Gav?
Massive. My pride, again. Pride in who I am, right, has always been important on the rugby field, but more than that, the pride in what I represent. Because people go into rugby or into sport, kind of being like, I didn't go into sport because I wanted to be rich. I wouldn't have gone at the time. I wouldn't have. It was amateur. Right?
And for people that don't know, you did become a really famous rugby player during the amateur era.
Yeah. I played amateur, which is one of the things I'm extremely proud of, actually, because that is a statement. As in to say, why did you have a certain job that wasn't what you wanted to do? It was because it fitted in with the fact that I could then play rugby.
Yeah.
So I played rugby because I really wanted to. I didn't, it never was on my radar that rugby could ever make me famous, ever make me rich, ever make me have a nice car or a nice house. Ever.
Yeah.
Never once did I think of that.
You did it for the love of it.
I did it for the
I did
it for the love of it, yeah, but I think the love of what it means to everyone, rather than rugby's a sport to me that, I'm passionate about playing.
Yeah.
As I said, it's not and it never has been about me.
Well, very, very interestingly as well, when you look at the lack of sometimes the vulnerability in maybe men in our country, especially Wales, and in working class areas, it feels like the only time you can feel emotional is maybe at a sporting game, at the rugby, or maybe when a son is being born or something like that. I've seen so many people in tears because of you scoring a try or the teams that you've been a part of, giving us grand slams. You unite people, and it's the freedom and you're allowing people to be vulnerable, open, and show their true expression of their feelings, which is really poignant.
It's poignant, but it's also quite bizarre. If you think within sport, right, if I stand in the most macho environment there is on a rugby field and I sing the national anthem and I cry, then people will be like, I love that man.
That's acceptable.
He is tough personified. He is everything, right? Yet within that world, right, or within the world in general. If you cry over something that is potentially not about passion, so if you cry over some kind of weakness, or you're struggling to deal with something and you cry, then you're potentially deemed as being weak.
Absolutely, it's seen as a weakness.
Yeah. But stand out there and sing the national anthem and cry, and you are strong.
Absolutely, yeah.
You
It's
know?
a socially acceptable vulnerability, isn't it?
Yeah. We'll applaud it.
Everything else is a taboo.
Yeah, you'll actually be thought of, and I've known this with players. I won't name any players, but I've seen players, right, who have shown emotion on the rugby field, and as far as their performance goes, has been average at best. Yet people will be like, don't care how bad he was today.
Yell that anthem.
Yeah, I don't care how bad he was today because that man cried, so it shows like he cares.
Yeah.
But then again, on the other flip side, in the sporting world, you're deemed as sense of weakness, or as something that people will hide when it comes to crying, over something that actually is way more important than an anthem, by the way.
Well, of course, yeah.
Way more important than
huge
an anthem.
emotions that we all go through day in, day out.
If you're struggling to deal with something, or walking into an environment where...
Financial worries, anything, any worries.
But people will be like, you can't cry about that. That's not worth...
You can cry over sport, though.
Yeah, you can cry. Fine. You can cry over sport, but you can't cry over things that I believe are way more important than a win or a loss.
That's what's really important, I feel. I don't want to embarrass you here, but that's why it's important to have ambassadors in the world to break those boundaries, to show what's acceptable and what is comfortable for a macho man to do. And that's why I do admire you greatly for that, because you are a voice of many different communities. You're a proud voice of many proud communities, whereas you stood up on numerous occasions and you've put your heart on your sleeve and you've been authentic and genuine, and people have followed you and listened to you because of that. And you've opened up an opportunity for men from all walks of life, gay, straight, to be who they are and themselves. How does that make you feel when somebody says that to you?
I suppose what it gives me is a sense of what I've done has been worth it, because what I feel that is, what you've said about me there, and I would never say it about myself, is actually what I'd love to be my legacy. So I spent, as I said, all my life smashing myself apart on the rugby field because I thought this is what I want people to remember me for. But when you look at what rugby gives you, and it gives you like a platform, or it gives you medals, it gives you trophies, all of that kind of will gather dust and will be forgotten. Yeah, when I feel I do something that impacts a life, or gives someone maybe a life that they thought they could never have. Maybe somebody who was struggling with their sexuality, who really wanted to have friends. Yet, because he thought sport, or she thought sport wasn't an avenue they could go down because of their sexuality, maybe through listening and hearing my story, decided, one day I'll go and buy a pair of boots, because if he can do it at that level, I can do it at this grassroots level. So having that recognition, having that legacy that people will remember maybe when they hear my name, rather than think of me as a rugby player, think of me as somebody who maybe transcended the game, or give people that option in life that they thought they may never have. It's something that but also not just me, my whole family will be extremely, extremely proud of.
Proud is back in the room again. I think it's an incredibly important word. In every community that you represent, as you said, if I'm going to play for Bridgend, go and play rugby league, or play for Cardiff Blues, I want to know what that represents to the community surrounding it, and that you carry that with you. And I think that's what's so great about what you've done, whether it be people living with HIV, the LGBTQA world, and just anybody with a fear of being themselves, whatever that may be, their authentic self. You do that with an incredible amount of pride. And you've done that your entire life.
But you know what? I suppose one thing that I'm really proud of now as well, and something I've learned about myself, but also learned about other people, right, is that we all go through life wanting people to like us all the time and doing things for people, and it's not a bad thing, you know, like I still do it now, but it's not a but. I feel what I'd like people to have learned from my story, because I think it's one thing I've really learned, is that it's all right. I don't mind people disliking me for being authentic, so for being openly gay. I know there's people who will dislike me for being gay. I know that. I know there's people who dislike me because I live with HIV, but that's my authentic self, right? So I don't mind if people dislike me for being my authentic self, but what I refuse to do anymore, and what I try to advocate for other people to do, is to not be a version of them which is the version they think other people think they should be.
Yes.
And I think so many people fall into that trap. You know, I don't know, like, obviously I didn't this morning consider what anyone would think about my jumper, because you know what, but, and this is genuine, right? I looked in my mirror this morning and I don't care what people think when I said, you know what, you look damn good in that yellow jumper.
Yeah, and you
know,
do.
You look damn good. And I thought, but how often, right? And I guarantee you, whoever listens to this, right, we all get trapped in the bubble of, I like this, but will my associates like it when I go into work? Or will my teammates like it when I go into training?
Yeah.
And therefore you become unauthentic. You become disconnected to who you are.
A masked version of who you actually are.
Completely.
I
And
truly
do you know what
believe
that brings you, but I feel, right, is it brings you the ability, people always say, right, like, be the best version of yourself, right? And the best version of yourself is being authentic, because if you're constantly worrying about what other people are thinking about you all the time, mate, you're never in that moment. Like, you're 60% in the moment and 40% wondering oh my God, what's Matt thinking about my jumper? Yeah. Rather than me do you know what, I am 100% in this moment, and the best version of me is in this moment, because, you know what, I care about what people say in this interview, what people think about this interview, right?
Yeah, of course.
But to a point, if they dislike what I've said, then I'm all right with that, because I care about me being authentic in this interview.
And that's good self-awareness. That's
Yeah.
good self-awareness, because it's that fear will always be there. Of what will this person think? Or what, am I doing the right thing? Should I be married by 30? All these natural stresses.
Why haven't you had children? You've been married for 2 or 3 years. Why haven't you had children yet?
All
Why
these
haven't you got a
things
house?
that so many people deal with, but living in that fear, being aware of it, and then still reacting in the way that you wish to, is very strong.
Yeah.
And that's stepping into your vulnerability, isn't it? And taking charge of that.
Yeah.
And also realizing, as you have so strongly, that vulnerability is an incredible strength.
Massive strength.
A huge strength.
And I think to be, not just to realize it, but to live it, because we can all, you know, and I've heard you saying it before, like, vulnerability is the greatest strength. And you know what, we can all say it, but can we all live it?
Yeah, live it.
Can we actually live it?
Yeah.
Really, can we? When you're in that moment, when you're put under that pressure, when you're standing in front of that mirror, can you actually live it?
Yeah.
And that is the difference. And you know what, sometimes that isn't the responsibility of the individual. That's the responsibility of the environment, to allow that individual to be able to live it.
That person.
Yeah, it's their responsibility as well. It's a collective thing.
And I'm going to bring this full circle as well, and that is, it's so important to have ambassadors to lead the way, and it's so important for people that are in a place in their world where they don't feel like they can be themselves, whatever that may be, whatever fears they have of being vulnerable. Watch your heads. It's whatever fears people have, there's always a need for people to stand there with their chest out and their heart on their sleeve to allow them that space to become who they are. And I do genuinely believe that's somebody like you. That's what you do. And in every single world and every single part of your career, as an ambassador, post and before and during your career, you've done that. You've been an ambassador for people to become their true selves.
Yeah, do you know what I think as well? One thing I really believe in, right? And that's what gives, and this is what I think, again, this is what takes real sense of courage, if you're talking about courage, right? Is to stand up for somebody, or to stand up for a community or a minority in an environment that is difficult. Now, what I say about that, right? how many times have you and I, right, been in a pub with a group of maybe 5 or 6 other middle-aged, white, heterosexual, as far as we know, men. And how many people in that environment have thought that it's okay, do you know what, because there's not a woman around here, do you know what, I can be a bit sexist. Or because there's not anyone of any colour around here, then I can be a bit racist. And I believe that the courage to be like an ally or to be a role model is not to just clock in a 9 to 5 without your job because it ticks the box. It's to live it, like to have a lifestyle. So if somebody decides in a group of lads to me to be a little bit sexist, just because he's in a group of lads doesn't mean I allow him to get away with it. If somebody is in a group and decides, you know, actually there's no one here like in a wheelchair or visibly disabled, so we can, you know, we can have a little dig at disabled people for a laugh. It's like, no, you can't. You can't. And I think it takes real strength to be in them environments where somebody feels they can say something because there's no one there to be discriminated. Yet if there was, they wouldn't think of saying it.
Yeah.
You know, so people think, well, you know, I wouldn't be racist in front of somebody of different colour, so I'm not a racist, but I would be in front of, you know, a group of people that weren't. So I think, you know, for me, I have that belief, or I have that want for that to be my lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
You know?
Consistently.
And you know what, but you know what's really hard? It's hard, right? Because what I found is that, oh my word, I'm constantly calling out people.
Yeah.
Right? Constantly.
I'm losing friends.
Yeah, but when I think to myself, actually, you know, you're constantly calling out people, so it comes to be a bit of a bore, and it's like, should I continue doing this? Because my mates are getting a little bit bored with it. I'm getting a bit bored with it, and I think about, well, imagine actually if you was the woman. Imagine if you was the disabled, or if you was the homosexual, or, you know, imagine how bored and how horrible it'd be for you to continue to keep hearing that. So I look at it on an empathetic view then, and look at it from their point of view and think to myself, no, do you know what? This is a lifestyle choice that, you know, I want to stick by and I want to defend.
It's an important value to you, isn't it?
Yeah, massively important. And it's, you know, people might say, because I'm openly gay and I openly live with HIV, that those are the only 2 subjects that I care about. But I care about any form of discrimination that's laid in front of me. I will call out. You know, I will not stand by and allow it to be get away with because it doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
I won't. I will call it out.
It's a really important point.
Yeah.
You found a way, through your authenticity, to find your set of values and belief systems that you were willing to stand by, even in a hostile environment.
Absolutely.
That's a very
Live by,
good
mate.
message, yeah.
Live by. And trust me, you know, people have walked away, people have tutted, people have rolled their eyes. But I think to
It's
myself,
only banter.
yeah, oh man,
locker room banter.
don't tell me that word.
Crikey.
And that's what, again, something I always say to people is, the minute they say it's only banter is the minute it's already gone too far.
Yes.
You know, stop trying to defend yourself under the guise of banter, because you know straight away, the minute you've said it, that we've gone way too far already.
I think it's an incredibly important message there. And like what you say about that courage to do that, that takes a lot of strength.
Yeah.
A lot of strength in that moment. It's just a big message for our gala evening, is that courage. And it's not just the courage of your convictions to do what you want to do for you. It's also being an ally for other people.
Yeah.
It's a great message.
Yeah, definitely.
And I couldn't think of a better person to send that message out there than you, my friend. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
I love you.
Courage.
Come here.
Courage en français. Courage.
I do. You're a good man.